It has been a while. I think it's week 5, maybe 4. It's gotta be week 5. I mean, like, I guess next week will technically be week 5, but like I was here for 35 days, so iffy. But so, adapted systems, forced adaptation. Excuse me. This is week 26 minus 2. This has been very hard to tackle because every week my viewpoints kind of change and shift. They're still there, right? But like the viewpoint or the core stays the same. However, certain sentiments keep changing or shifting. And I think that's very natural, especially solo traveling and group travel and so on. And in that, I guess you'll have a variety of episodes. This is the same episode, but it's like episode version A, B, C, and D. And then I guess at E after I'm back stateside. So with that, I guess this will be version D in week 4, right? So, what can I say? I mean, it's been quite a ride, especially solo traveling, and then being back to solo traveling after 2 weeks essentially of being with a friend group. And I want to be nuanced or like diplomatic there, where the first week, right, you're like completely lost, and then the second week, at least like coming in, right, you're completely lost. And then for me, I think the hardest point was Ishigaki, where there's not really transportation. There's just like one taxi service when Uber was kind of my MO, right? We'd be using the rail system in Tokyo plus Uber just to fill in the gaps. Whereas one location didn't have that, and it was so hard to adapt to. But then over time, it's like, okay, this is how this country is, or this is how this region is, this area, whatever. And then moving from there, I went to Miyako, and obviously taxi service, whatever, you carry cash. Then I went to Okinawa, the whole deal. I feel like I went more in depth on the earlier episodes or versions. So, and Okinawa was its own thing. I think the problem with some of those islands was that certain things that you really want to see are so spread out, and it's going to cost you an arm and a leg to get there if you don't have your own personal vehicle or rented, whatever. However, I found Okinawa very, I liked the prefecture, I liked all of the region, and then I drifted to Amami, and that was basically just like a pit stop to get to Kagoshima, kind of, and then go down from Kirishima to Kagoshima, spent the night there, and then hopped over, so like, I guess at the end of week 2, you kind of already adopted certain systems, behaviors, like forced adaptation. And, from there, it's like, okay, well, okay, I gotta get on the Shinkansen to go from not quite Kagoshima, but, go from here to here. And then from here, I take the Shinkansen to Kobe. I spent 2 days in Kobe. And then from Kobe, I went back to Tokyo. 2 weeks there, kind of, Tokyo for 5-6 days, whatever, and then another 4 days or whatever in Sapporo, and then Osaka, and then I've spent my last 2-3 days in Osaka, technically 2, I guess, and then finally I'm here in Kyoto, and then from here I'm thinking I either end up in Nagoya, or I go straight to or back to Tokyo and then go see Yokohama. But at that point, I think I only have like 3, maybe 4 or 5 days left of my trip, and it's really coming to feel like either pick one or the other, or it's going to be a very, very challenging last 2 days maybe. Or it's just like one night in, Yokohama before I go to the airport or whatever. So that's fun, but, spiel aside about my travels and my plans, like, I think the systems, right, you take something, right, for me, it was like an entrepreneurial kind of thing, where obviously I want to start a business in Japan, Side note, like, aside from that, like, future prospecting, maybe Kazakhstan, only because, like, of the region and, like, how, I'm more of a building type of person where, obviously I want to take in customs and the culture and systems and behaviors or whatever, and then plug in my thing or my system of thought or whatever, while keeping, awareness of this environment, the cultural environment, behavioral environment, whatever. Sound like a dweeb there, but still, in some regard, I think it's plug and play. Like, so I think for me, some of my displeasure with some people I've interacted with, they don't really adopt, it's like, I don't want to say shape-shifting because that has a connotation to it, but it's like, it's like this forced adaptation or this inherited or forced behavior you have to adopt in order to function here. And so let's say that with specifically transport was my biggest challenge. But then, like, currency-wise, spending and so on, like, it's pretty similar at the same time, right? Like, there's a certain forced adaptation where it's like, while I'm willing to spend more on food with friends, and associates, I can get by with meals for like less than 2,000 yen, like 1,500. I was at this great ramen place in the middle of like the underground mall in Osaka. I forget which station, but that meal was like 1,000 yen. It was like 980 yen or something. You can have fantastic meals for dirt cheap, and it's silly, but obviously, taste is personal, very enigmatic, right? Like, my taste is going to be completely different from your taste, and I think spending habits are relevant there, but I don't know, because familiarity and comfort and, different variables play into that. So, aside from that, like, just shifting attitudes and behaviors. I don't know, I don't feel like I captured exactly what I want to say, even if I captured, the storytelling. So, thanks for listening, watching, so on. I'll upload this one, but stay tuned for version A, B, C, and maybe E next week, just to continue this a little, right back when I'm stateside, and now maybe I'll connect everything. So look forward to that. Otherwise, peace out.